Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Thursday, and that means we have the wonderful Jonathan Twomley, and yes, the legend as well. I forgot. How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm well, Michael. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I always have fun with this. I have fun every day, folks. I really have fun on this show. So, Jonathan, we are going to talk about Class A and Class C properties. You clearly play in Class A and Class B. I have a portfolio that is dominated by Class C, smaller stuff, not huge unit, smaller stuff. So this is going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, and let me just make things clear. Like I don't own any Class A or Class B right now, or Class C either. I mean, sold everything.
Yep.
Working on buying more, but I've been really thinking about how to change strategies going forward. And one of the things that came up recently I have my own mastermind of other syndicators. We've been talking every month for 4 or 5 years now. And one of the things that came up on our most recent call was, why would anybody ever buy 1970s properties, right, anymore? And and they tend to be, in most markets that's going to be a C class.
Oh, for sure.
You might have some markets like New York or San Francisco where those things have been completely gut renovated, and the shell might be 1970s, but the insides are all right. So that's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your typical sort of garden style 1970s or 1960s, 3-story walk up kind of apartments, right?
Yep.
And what we were talking about was that these apartments are actually trading right now at lower cap rates than Class A and Class B properties.
Wow.
Because people have this expectation that they're going to do a big value add, push rents, and generate a higher cap rate for themselves later on. But the fact of the matter is that on these older properties, you may get your value add, you may do it, you may get higher rents. But what a lot of people, and I went through this myself, what they don't realize is they're basically putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig underneath.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you wind up with, I mean, maybe it's not just lipstick. You put the pig in like a whole new dress and
Spanx. You put Spanx on it.
Spanx. You painted its hooves a nice shiny shade of mauve or who knows, whatever it is, but it's still a pig, right? Yep. And so what you wind up happening is what winds up happening is that you have all kinds of structural issues with these deals. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of plumbing issues, and you get you have like weird. The 70s was a time of experimentation in construction, which didn't really work out that well. You had aluminum wiring, you had like cast iron pipes, you had all kinds of there's some breaker boxes which are basically huge fire hazards. And so what's happening now is that not only does this stuff break, because now it is 40 going on 50 years old, but insurance companies have also gotten wise to a lot of this stuff, and they're now people are experiencing buy a property, underwrite it for what they think it is. They're going to do their value add. And then the insurance company says, oh, we don't like these breaker boxes. We want you to replace every single one at $1,500 a pop. So now you're talking, for your 100 unit property, a new $150,000 expense that you weren't expecting. Right?
Yeah. And must do.
And must do. Right. And so all of these things contribute to C-class properties looking really good on paper, but not being so great once you actually execute on them. And we kind of were talking as a group about really just the desire not to ever buy any 1970s properties ever again. And like soon that will also be 1980s properties. We don't want to buy them either for the same reasons. They don't have as many structural problems as the 70s. The 70s was a wild time of, like I said, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But the, as opposed to buying a Class A property where you might get the same cap rate or maybe even a slightly better cap rate because you can't do a value add, but it's much more predictable. At the end of the day, you might be producing the same return because you don't have all this unexpected CapEx that's constantly coming up and knocking you off your game, as with a 1970s property. So, and you don't have to do the value add, right? You don't have that execution risk. And with the way that rents are going right now, you can actually underwrite some pretty substantial rent growth so that you're, without doing anything, you're creating value, right, at the property, and you're going to wind up creating a decent overall, investment for your investors. And on top of that, you do not have the issues with tenants that you have at these older properties, right? Because you have, if you're at a Class A property, you're at the top of the market. Your tenants, are much, much more affluent. They are going to pay their rent without any problems. They probably have it on auto pay. They don't even think about it. It's out of sight, out of mind, just coming out of their auto generated from their checking account, right? So they don't even have to think about it. And if they lose their job, they've got, savings to fall back on, and they're not, they're going to pay their rent, as opposed to your C-class tenants, where they're kind of skating on thin ice in a lot of cases. They're not making a lot of money. Their hours get cut and they can't pay their rent, right? Yep. So it's a completely different experience. So for me going forward, I'd already kind of made this decision before we had this conversation the other day, but it just reaffirmed what I was thinking, that really A and B are the way to go.
Yeah.
From here on in.
I think you're right.
I think if you want to do a value add.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things that I take away this, and I see the same thing in single family homes. It's scary how I can translate what you're talking about at $100 million projects down to a $150K house. Is first and foremost, there are too many people that believe Excel, right? I can't believe the cap rate is lower on a Class C property, and it's all because their Excel spreadsheet says value add. So I see that a lot in housing as well, as you lit the Excel spreadsheet, right? You can go broke buying cheap. I try to tell people that all the time, right? And the other thing that is very true, and I have some of these Class C buildings that I've had to make capital expenditures. There's a lot of stuff that you don't see: wiring, sewers, plumbing, mechanicals, that are big ticket expenses. That can come into play. And for all the new people playing, they don't have that in their spreadsheet. They just assume, hey, pipes are good, wire's good. And not the case in 70s build stuff.
And listen, like, everybody goes through this learning process, right? Because I certainly started out buying C properties because, well, at least before things got crazy, they were trading at much higher cap rates.
For sure.
Right.
They should.
It was like, it was very easy. Yeah, they should. Exactly. They should. It was very easy to hit some really nice numbers for your investors on a spreadsheet when you're going in at an cap. Right.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, well, yeah, it'll be fine. And then what happens is that, you get that, that water main that breaks.
I've had that.
Right? And then you have to replace it. And then the next one breaks, and it's actually under the slab foundation, which means you've got to dig up the slab foundation to get to the pipe to replace it, then lay down your slab foundation again, right? And I mean, and this is just, and these, now you're talking like $7,000 to $10,000 every time you do this. And once one breaks, the others are sure to follow
right around the corner. Yeah.
Right. So, and I've had that. I've been at the property where it's like every time we seem like we're getting ahead, we get the call from the manager at another water main break, right? And it's like, why bother with that stuff, right? Why bother with it?
Certainly at the same cap rate. I mean, God, you do not want that at the same cap rate. No way.
Oh yeah. And listen, and here's the thing too, right? In today's environment, you can still do things in due diligence. I mean, you can do things in due diligence, like use fiber optic cameras to go into the pipes and see the condition. Now, in a normal part of the market, if you did that during due diligence and you looked at and you saw the pipes were all clogged up, or maybe they were already leaking or whatever, you'd go to the seller and you'd say, I want a concession for this, right? And the seller would probably have to negotiate something with you.
Probably. Yeah.
Now you go in and you say, hey, I want $150,000 concession because of these pipes. And the seller's going to say,
Duh.
go pound sand.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for
And
that.
because, yeah, they're going to say, that's great. You know, your money's hard already, and good luck to you. And, you know, if you don't like it, the guy behind you isn't smart enough
Yeah.
to run fiber.
Thank you for the report. I'll give it to him for free.
Yeah, we're not even that. I'll just, you know, I'll throw this in a drawer someplace, and
In a
you know,
drawer. Well, I don't
I'm
know.
not going to tell anybody about this. They can go do their own fiber optic cable, and if they want to, and I've got your hard money deposit already, and you know, so
true.
it's in this market, you may discover that problem, and like, too bad for you, right? And the thing about those kinds of repairs, right? They don't contribute to rent. If you put new countertops on, you can get more rent.
Mhm.
If you repair a water main, doesn't get you any more rent. Repair a roof doesn't get you any more rent.
Nope.
Right? Maybe windows might, but you know, that's about it. Like that stuff, repair the electrical, you know, doesn't get you any more rent.
Yeah.
So that's just money that just goes out the door and doesn't produce any more income for you. It's not value add. It's keeping the property from deteriorating any further is all it does, right?
Exactly.
So why bother? Why bother with that ancient stuff? Go buy some newer property. Yeah, the cap rate might not look as attractive, or you can't do the value add, but at the end of the day, you may wind up in exactly the same place because you haven't had to spend all that money on unanticipated capex that it's very difficult to underwrite for.
Yeah.
Right? And frankly, if you try, and then there's another thing is if you underwrite, I underwrite for it now, right? I have a capex allowance in my underwriting, but I'll tell you, it makes it awfully hard to do deals when you like are realistic about it.
Yeah.
Because that capex allowance, you start looking at your returns after you make this capex allowance.
Yeah.
And the returns are pathetic.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, why am I going to do this deal? It's like, it's good. It's a 2%. It's going to pay me 2% cash on cash. You know, if I anticipate some real actual capex,
Mhm.
you know, so right now I think the market is sort of, there's a lot of like hope and prayer that things work out well in order to make the deals look good. And I'd rather just buy a really good property that's
Agreed.
relatively new and know what I'm getting into and just have lower risk. Right.
Mhm.
So
yeah, totally agree.
That's where yeah.
You know, I've certainly come to that mindset that, you know, better, those surprise capex just hurt. It just hurts. And you have it, they just, once they start, like you say, it's like, oh, I know what's going to be happening in the next couple of years. So Jonathan, you are doing something pretty special for folks the next 2 weeks. Why don't you tell them what it is?
Yeah. So between now and June 17th, I will have a free training series live that you can go and watch about how to do syndications right. I mean, it's a really, really solid overview of the syndication process, what actually happens in a syndication, how you actually get paid, how your investors get paid, how you divide up all the spoils, right? Show you exactly how that works. I'm going to show you how you can go get good deals even when you're first starting out, right? Get brokers to show you their best deals, even though you're new, and then talk about how you actually get the money from investors. So, you know, actually building that entire funnel from, you know, where you find investors in the first place, how you get them into your platform, and then how you actually sell them a deal once you've got a deal to sell them. It's all free. The last video, there will be a pitch to join a program of mine. You can watch it if you want to go forward. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to go forward. There's no pitching in the first 3 videos at all. It's all completely value. And there is a download that you can get for each video so that you can follow along and take notes really easily and basically walk away with a playbook of how to get started when you're done. It's all free. It'll be up till June 17th. And if you sign up at the link below, you'll get an email in 24 hours with a link to the website where the videos will be dripped out to you. The whole thing will be up for 2 weeks. You can watch it whenever you want to. Then it's going to come down and it won't be available for another 6 months or so. But it's a good series. People really like it. It's been very popular every time I've released it. And I really encourage you to go watch it and just, get the knowledge that's there for free.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. It's going to be wonderful, folks. If you want to know about Jonathan, there's a playlist below, 100 hours of material. And the first line of the description is the link for this free training. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.